Good day, this is the Hawk. This is part two of a candidate interview with Reba Sherrill, District 21 Congressional candidate for Palm Beach, South Florida. This interview is a very candid interview on many subjects, and you get to know who this person is who's going to be fighting for you in Congress if she is elected. Very strong-willed lady who fought back from being uh, in a very bad accident. Somebody hit her in the crosswalk, and she's able to sit there now, fighting to stand up for the people of Florida. Please take time to listen to her, to listen to her ideas, and consider her for candidacy. Now, don't get me wrong, I like all the candidates. I tried to get Laura Loomer to come on, but she refuses. I have my doubts about that, but that's my personal opinion. However, if you haven't been subscribed, please subscribe. Suggested feeds are being taken out due to conservative views. So please, if you haven't subscribed, hit the little red button below, hit the like button. And there's links below to this candidate's website, her phone number, and her donation link. If you would, please assist her in her endeavors and listen. You might learn something. This is the Hawk. Enjoy. So, saying that I was born in Africa. I came to America. I became a U.S. citizen. I studied your history. I had to learn all about the Constitution and how the system works to become a citizen of the United States. Having learned a lot of your history and gone to many of the places like Gettysburg and Sitting Bull and Wounded Knee and all these, I've been there. Okay. So reading the history, I'm listening to many of the communities are saying about reparations for slavery and all this type of stuff. Well, I must say, if you read the history, only 1.4% of the entire population of the United States before the Civil War owned slaves.
That's very small.
Very small thing. 500,000, approximately 500,000 United States, well, not United States, but civilian military from the North and the South died in that conflict to free the slaves of the United States. What people don't know, when they took this statue down from Robert E. Lee, they don't read history, they listen to narratives, right? Mm-hmm. The narrative is wrong because it was actually Robert E. Lee that said, free the slave, and we will not have this war. Lincoln owned slaves. He used the proclamation, the Emancipation Proclamation, as a political tool. That's all. So Gettysburg, that day, there was a pivotal point in the Civil War, because had the South won, the United States would be very different. But people don't realize that in 3 days, 54,000 men died on a football field in a river of blood for the freedom of black people to be slaves, to be freed in the United States. 54,000 men and 500,000 wounded and dead. That's a huge amount of people died. I think they paid in blood, and they paid plenty.
My ancestors fought in that war. I'm a DAR, daughter of the American Revolution. I've had family members that have fought in every battle from the beginning of the founding of our country. And my own father served in the Korean War, and I had uncle that was in Vietnam and cousin that was in Desert Storm, and the list goes on and on. But we need to really be mindful of the fact that a lot of blood has been spilled for many generations. And there are millions of children that were never born because their parents were killed on the field of battle. And we should not give up those freedoms easily. We need to fight for them. And I consider myself a warrior. I'm not serving in the military officially, like the Marines, the Army, the Navy, whatever. But I'm a warrior, and I fight for this country and the people in it every single day. And I have done that my whole life, and I'll continue to do that.
And Reba, what you were saying about being in Washington, we should unite and conquer, not divide and conquer.
That's right. Patriots unite.
Exactly. And why I'm saying is that because I was in Iraq for 8 years, and when we were deep in it, I mean, we were getting hammered 6 times a day. There was no colors. We were all in the same boat. We were all getting slammed. When I pulled a soldier out, it was wounded. I didn't care if he was black or white. He was a soldier. Nor did they. When the guy went down, they cried just as bad as if he was black, white, pink, or yellow. We were all the same. We were fighting the same war. We come home, and you have people like Al Sharpton and these opportunist politicians who are dividing us by color, by sex, by race, by creed, by religion. And
the fabric of our country.
They tearing us apart. And there's no such thing, because I've always maintained that like you said, we're all a human. We're just a human race of different colors. But the problem with the black people in America being manipulated, because I look at every single Democratic state. Most of them are bankrupt. Most of them are corrupted. Most of them have the most unemployment, the most welfare cases, the most drug cases, and the most violent crime cases. Most of them. Chicago, on a weekend, every weekend, 30 people die, and many of them are children that are caught in the crossfire. So I'm begging that the politicians will stand up to these and tell it like it is. You are not a color. You're a human being with a right. And our Constitution guarantees us the right to freedom and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. I came here for that reason. I came here because South Africa was a nightmare. It was a racist. It still is. It's worse now.
Yeah.
It's far, far worse now. But I came here hoping that I was as free as the man next door to me. And I didn't have to worry about the color of my skin or the fact that who I am and my white, English, Afrikaans, black, Zulu, didn't matter. I came here because I believed that we were all free people. But I found more racism here than I ever did in Africa. Do you know that?
Really?
I found more racism here. I find it is a business. I find that racism in the United States is a huge, huge industry. Black Lives Matter is actually, if you go on Pandora, for instance, they're advertising every minute on Pandora to donate to the what's it, the ACL, what you call it, the ACLO, whatever.
Act Blue.
Yeah, they're advertising for racism. It's literally advertising for racism. I found offensive, and this is why I'm asking all the politicians, why is it okay to have Black History Month?
How about White History Month?
Exactly. Why is it okay to have Black awards? Why is it okay to have? Why is it okay? Why is this okay? To me, it's offensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's offensive. It is degrading, and it's racism. It's pure and utter racism. Just the fact that they allowing Black Lives Matter to be published, to be an organization, to me is offensive as a human.
May I ask you a question, Hawk?
Mm-hmm.
You are a legal immigrant to this country.
I am a legal United States African American.
Yes, when you came here to the United States, you made a choice to come here.
Yes.
And you did it the legal way.
the legal way. I had a green card before I even came here.
Did you have eyes wide open? Did you know what our Constitution said? Did you know what our way of life is based upon? Did you know we were one nation under God?
Yes.
Is this something that you were taught when you applied to become a citizen here?
The United States is when we were there is the pride. It's to come.
So the problem seems to be the people who are coming to this country as illegal immigrants, and they think that they can change our country to match what they fled from. They don't come here for our country and for what we stand for. They're coming here to infiltrate our country, our government. This is what they've been doing to change us into what they left. If they want what they left, they need to go back, because we, as American citizens, do not want what they're selling.
I agree. So for me, I spent 10 years in the Middle East, 8 years in Iraq, 2 years in Afghanistan. And I can tell you this, you cannot change the mindset of Sharia law.
No, you can't.
You cannot. It's impossible. It is taught in every mosque, in every part of the country, on every place, every country in the world. It's taught that Sharia law is the standing law. A woman and a girl is a second-class citizen. They do not have rights. There's certain things that our Constitution, that is not our Constitution. That is a religious ideology.
Mm-hmm.
It's a religious ideology based on a false interpretation of a book by that very man that wrote the book on Sharia law. He said it was taken out of context to abuse the system of religion. They ignored him. Nobody wants to hear what he has to say because it's become the mandate for terrorism. Take that away. The United States, yes, it was, and I'm not knocking you for this, but the United States was written and conceived by religious men who believed in Christianity and the law of God as a Christian nation. Mm-hmm. Right? The Constitution was devised in such a way that it was to make sure that the evils of controlling governments would never control the citizens ever again, to be abused by the system. For instance, with England enforcing their law, and they did it in South Africa, they did it throughout the world. Every country they ever took over, they forced the citizens to pay their taxes and to control it. We have a problem today in the United States, and I see, is that their constitution is in peril. Mm-hmm. It's in peril.
They're trying to destroy it.
Exactly, because they want to become they want the federal government to be the control of the people.
And it's supposed to be we the people. It's a government of the people, for the people, by the
people. Yes.
And
so people got very upset with Trump the other day because they said, why aren't you controlling the states? He says, it's not my place. Then they started criticizing him for coronavirus. And he was very clever. He got every single governor from every single state on the phone in one room. TVs, Skype messages, whatever. And they went through, what do you need? I'm not doing it for you. I will help you, but what do you need? Because you're the governor of the state, not me. And it's your state to control, not me. I'm the federal government. You are the state. Because if you look at federal law and state law, state law cannot go past federal law. And federal law cannot go below state law. So there's a definite line in between. And the Constitution states too that religion cannot supersede the Constitution of the United States. That's a fact. So when people go to court and say, and in a way, we hate it, but the Ten Commandments, they brought a lawsuit and got it taken out of court buildings. They got taken out of many places because they used the Constitution against us. There's only one way to fix that. It's declare that the United States is a Christian country in a referendum. Think about that. That would resolve everything. But then they would say we're intolerant of other religions. No, we're not intolerant. But this is a Christian country. Based on our Constitution, it states it's a Christian country. We cannot use religion to control the Constitution, but this is a Christian country. But Sharia law is based on a law of religion. It's the same as the Ten Commandments are based on the law of a religion.
There's something that that they have done in many states across this country, and there's a movement that's in the works by these supporters of Sharia law. You know, amongst the Muslims, they think it's okay to marry a child of age 5 or 8. And a few months ago, earlier this year, there was over a dozen states that actually lowered the age of consent to 14. They wanted to lower the age of consent to 10.
Do you know, and I must tell you something. I am not 100% sure, but that was actually a federal law. Did you know that? Before, they didn't have to change anything. It's actually a federal law. That the legal age of consent is actually 14. The state law superseded it to 18 or 16, I think. But there is somewhere in the, because there was a case here in Utah that came up where a girl had relations with a certain person who was of a certain age, but there was consent, and they couldn't do anything about it because they used the federal statute. The problem with what you're saying is that they've gone to the limit of the federal law and they passed it. Because and it's old law. You got to realize this is 1800s law, federal law.
Well, it used to be illegal to have a Christmas tree. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Because our country was founded by pilgrims and people that were escaping religious persecution in Europe. They came to the United States and they established these colonies seeking religious freedom. And they had a lot of laws, like it was illegal to sodomize. Bestiality was illegal. And a lot of these laws are still on the books. And I personally, I'm opposed to those things as well. You know, I think it's horrible to abuse an animal like that. And it's a very corrupt thing for an individual to engage in those kinds of acts. But, you know, because of the United Nations, they've actually been teaching children, even in kindergarten, that bestiality is a sexual preference. You know, that this is a form of sex that is okay and acceptable.
There's a bunch of books that are now coming out in South Africa with the same stuff, and people are absolutely horrified at what they're seeing, and they're teaching it to 6, 7-year-olds to upwards on certain stages of I'm absolutely appalled at what I saw. But what you're saying is true, and you're like, even in Utah, it's illegal to have homosexual sex. It's still on the books.
So what do we do about these things? We've talked about quite a few pretty significant issues that are being faced by our citizens in society today. What's some solutions that we can gravitate towards to solve these problems? Because I think by and large, in conversation with pretty much any citizen of the United States, most people would agree that pedophilia should be illegal, and it is. But there's a movement now in the works. I saw something that there was a clip someone had posted from CNN. They're actually trying to push to make pedophilia, just like homosexuality, legal. So then they don't get prosecuted for abusing children. Really? No, that's not okay.
No.
They receive no mercy. Like, you don't, this damages children for their entire life if they even make it to adulthood, which many of them don't. Very few people recover from being sexually traumatized as a child. They become suicidal, or they may even be murdered by their abuser. And, you know, they literally have tried to destroy us. And I want to share something with you that happened to me back in the 90s. I was on a flight flying from Nashville, Tennessee to Arizona, and a lady sat down in the seat beside me on the plane. And because I'm a person that always strikes up conversation with a total stranger, we began to speak to one another, and I was getting acquainted. And I was shocked when I asked her if she was going home or going for vacation. She told me, I'm going to a witches' convention. A witches' convention. And I said, what do you do at a witches' convention? I was kind of taken aback. And she said, well, we're praying for the destruction of the family. She just stated it proudly to me that this is what they were doing. And here I am, I'm on a plane, I've got my 2 children with me, and there's this woman who claims to be a witch, and she's praying to destroy my family and every family in the United States. And what have we seen happen over the last 30 years? That very thing has been happening. Prayer is so important. Even the witches understand that. They pray to their God, and we need to pray to the one God, the one true God, and Jehovah. And we need to pray for healing of our people and of our land, because this is a war of principalities. They are trying to completely destroy our country, because in doing so, they gain control of the whole world. We are the ones standing in the gap that's spoken of in Scripture. We are standing in that gap.
I have been talking about that. I have a passion about fathers' rights, because I've dealt with child issues, and I feel that the court system actually perpetuates separate family issues, because
parental alienation is.
Yes, I absolutely think that there should be no custody given to any parent. Both parents should have joint custody no matter what. It doesn't matter if the one child lives with one parent, that both parents should have joint custody. And there should be no way that any parent can deny the other parent a visitation. Because it's not child support, it's father. It shouldn't be child support. It should be the support of a child. Because the fathers today are being used as money, not as the support of a child. And that
we all know what happens when fathers are absent. Look at our African American community.
I agree. They should be
incarceration of these children that grow up in fatherless homes. Phenomenal. And the violent crime rates and all these things are off the charts, because the father is not present. And a lot of times it's not by choice either. It's
Mm.
because of circumstances.
And then here's the thing, I'll go back to the communities. First of all, the most of the minority communities are, do not have the infrastructure to create work and funding and quality of life. A lot of times in these communities, it's easier to be pregnant and get money than to actually go and work. You get more money being pregnant than having to go work. So there's no incentive to work. This perpetuates the problem because the man don't care. He knows she's going to get funding from the state.
Again, rewarding negative behavior.
Exactly.
And
that,
we need to reward
who did
positive
that?
behavior.
Who did that? Clinton did that. And then they came up with the justice system where they're putting these guys in jail. They put them in jail because it's become a business. So many of the minorities that are in jail shouldn't be in it. Like I was talking about the marijuana case. Almost 50% of our inmates are in there for selling drugs. If you legalize drugs, just hypothetically, you legalize drugs just like they did in Holland, you would empty the jails in the United States almost to 75%. And there would be no incentive to sell the drug because nobody would be making money. And it's the same as alcohol. When they had prohibition, people made more money selling alcohol than they ever did in their lives.
That's how President Kennedy's father made a fortune.
Exactly. It's you take away the incentive to sell it, and the problem goes away. Because you're not, it's like the kid being told, don't eat the apple or don't eat the banana. They're going to go eat it.
They want it.
Fruit. No matter what, they want it. Because you said no. And like you were saying on campaign finance, in one presidential campaign, and even with congressional campaigns, calculate the amount of money that all those candidates, what happens when they don't get elected as the candidate for that? What happens to the rest of the money the other candidates have? Do they give it to the candidate who was elected, or do they keep the money?
Well, they might hold on to it for their next race, if they plan on running again.
Gee, that should be illegal. That money should go into the coffers of the candidate that wins the seat for that party, or they're elected as the candidate for that seat. For that.
Well, I don't know that that's the answer, Hawk. I prefer to just put a cap on the amount, the maximum amount that they can spend and they can raise, because if someone is going out and they're working hard to raise money, which is what typically is done in a campaign, I don't think they should have to just give it over to somebody else. If they're intending to run another race,
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
then they should be able to retain that money to fund their future election. Mm-hmm. But if there was a pool of money that everyone got a cut of, like say there was $1 million kitty for District 21, and we split it up between the candidates, and everybody was encouraged to spend it wisely and get the most out of every penny. And then we have a primary, and there's some money left over with some of the candidates. Then I could say, yeah, give it to the one that won the primary. That would make sense because it came from one beginning pool of money. But if I took that route, which I don't, and I haven't, but if I went out and for 2 or 3 years I raised a lot of money for my campaign, I don't want to just have to hand that over to somebody else. No, I would want to use it for my future endeavors. Mm-hmm. But like I said at the beginning, I don't think we should be spending this kind of money in these campaigns. Yeah. I think it's outrageous, and I think it needs to change, and I think we need to put some limitations on there to make sure that it does change. so that we cut out these lobbyists who are paying people off, and we take the PAC money out of the way. Like, we need to just have a really strict limit on what candidates spend to be elected, because there's some good qualified people that don't make it on the ballot because they're lacking in funds. And I don't think that should be the case either. Some states you only need 6 signatures to get on the ballot. Here in Florida, in District 21, we needed like 5,000.
Wow.
And people don't want to give all their personal information. Like, you could get just a signature and maybe even an address, but they ask for their birthday, they ask for their, their voter registration number, they ask for all these detailed information and a signature. If someone wanted to, they could pretend to be running for office and gather up thousands of people's personal information, their signatures and everything, and create all kinds of fraud.
Yeah.
Like, I think they need to rethink how they do these petition ballots.
You know that your district was a Republican district for a very long time, till the Republican candidate retired. And then one other guy came in, and then he lost the election to the Democrats. And
Do you know what year that happened, Hawk? Because I'm not familiar with this story.
If you go to WikiLeaks on your thing, it's a whole history of that.
Was it in the 80s? Was it in the 2000s?
I think it was 2011.
Okay, so about a decade ago.
I think he retired in 2011. Somebody took over from him for the next 2 years, and from there it was 2 Democrats, I believe. And so, Reba, can you tell us how you feel about this election right now? And we'll close this out with your closing thoughts on the future and how you're going to take Congress.
Well, I tell you.
And before you go, I would like to thank you very much for the shout out on Red Pill 78 or 76 or whatever it is. 78. And I really appreciated that. I'm passionate about South Africa. So
absolutely, as am I. I have a lot of friends in South Africa. And we don't need to forget about what they're battling every single day. And what they're facing today, we may be facing tomorrow. So we really do need to pay attention and assist them. But we don't need to do it by sending billions of dollars to South African government when they don't get the money and the aid that's needed to the people.
Exactly. And I'm hoping the United States change their policy on foreign aid, that if any country votes anything against us in the UN, they need to stop all aid immediately.
Well, this week, the president has designated to raise awareness about these regimes, these foreign regimes that are violating people's rights. The president, like he believes that all people have human rights. We are all created by God. And he believes in protecting those rights, not only here at home, but around the world. He sees the atrocities that are happening in Hong Kong and in Venezuela and in various other places. It's really been a global epidemic. Talk about a pandemic. Corruption and fraud is the pandemic. It's not virus. No, it's corruption and fraud. And they're trying to use this virus, this so-called virus, which there is a virus, but it's no more dangerous than a seasonal flu. And they try to foment fear to control the people and take over our government and our way of life. We cannot allow it to happen. We need to stand up and fight against it. I'm a very passionate person, and I don't discriminate. I'm not prejudiced against anyone unless you're creating fraud and corruption. If you are treading on someone else's rights, I'm going to stand against you and I'm going to fight you to the death. You can count on that. I can't be intimidated. I can't be bought. And I'm going to fight for the people of District 21 in this country. I'm a voice for the voiceless. We have a lot of people that their voices have been silenced, and they have been so intimidated by what's happening that they don't know how to speak anymore. I speak for you. I fight for you. And I will win this race for the people. And I will take this fight to DC. And we are going to restore our country. We will bring healing to this land and build strong, happy, healthy homes.
Thank you, Reba. Thanks very much for being here. This is the Hawk. I will post Reba's website and her candidate and her email and all that information, so contact email and her platform on the bottom of the description on my show. And you can go there and there's a donation link. Even though she doesn't want donations in a big hurry.
I welcome them, actually.
But I want you to donate to her. She needs the money.
Very much appreciated, but I'm not going to beg for money.
Yes, that's what I meant. Don't be shy to send her a couple of $100 and to help her out on this campaign. We need people like this in Congress. Thank you very much, Reba.
Thank you,
I appreciate you being on my show. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for talking about South Africa. It's a passion of mine. Thank you.
Mine as well. Thank you.
Thank you for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed the two-part series. If there's any other candidates out there that'd like to be interviewed or part of a debate with the other candidates, please contact me at hawkshield10@gmail.com and we can arrange that. This is the Hawk. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the likes, and I hope you enjoyed the show.